It has come to my attention that a certain little indie title has started to take the internet by storm. Megabonk, a 3D platforming iteration on the Vampire Survivor Bullet Heaven style of games. But that's more of a streaming game, so how can I farm that SEO deliver a quality product to my lovely viewers in the theme of this hot new title that I'm sure will already be old news by the time I actually get around to uploading this video. Howdy, I'm Prakuza, and welcome to DevBox, where today I'm using the tangential relationship to a completely separate game as an excuse to find Dark Souls' best bonk sticks and kill my way through every boss. No fanfare really necessary, let's jump into that run. So, we start as a deprived, which will start us off with a mini bonker version of the weapons we'll be looking for. Still, we'll be making our Megabonker the absolute pinnacle of pure strength, with that large upper body. However, while this might seem like a great time for the Black Firebomb method of killing the Asylum Demon in order to get the Demon Great Hammer, we can't for two reasons. For one, with this being a bonk-only run, I can't use anything that isn't a bonk. And after using this little club, I won't even be using anything quite as puny. Which means, no firebombs, throwing knives, bows, not even the crossbow. I've been having too much fun with the ranged options lately and needed to suffer. Second, I needed to start with the Master Key as my starting gift if I wanted access to an actually useful starting Great Hammer. Regardless, the Asylum Demon isn't exactly an obstacle, and we can make it into Lordran proper, and start gathering our basic gear. This starts with heading into Blighttown in order to find our first and best Great Hammer, the Great Club. It's somehow all downhill from here, but at least we're starting at the top of the mountain, Mount Vesuvius in fact. Too bad this is old footage from way back in 79 AD. And one final addition is to upgrade our Great Club to +5, because we already have Andre access, so why not? So at this point, we've used all of our consumable souls and got a few lucky drops to not only hit +5 on the club, but also get the strength to at least two-hand our new bonk stick, which means that we've got the strength to almost one-shot the Taurus Demon. But you know, if we really wanted to flex, then what's stopping us from quitting out here, reloading, using one of our lightning resins, and then dropping down to absolutely slaughter this guy? Sick. Moving on, our next major obstacle is the gargoyles, or should I say obstacles. But first, we need to get some armor that is at least somewhat similar to the Megabonk cover art guy, which is a bucket helmet. And there's only one bucket helmet available at this point in the game. Bye, Solaire. Side note, I slept in the doghouse after this run since my girlfriend really doesn't like it when I kill Solaire. She's gonna be pissed when I eventually do my Warrior of Sunlight RP run. On to the fight. While our damage is insane, my positioning isn't. Probably having trouble seeing out of that helmet. Perhaps it wasn't worth it killing our only friend in this cold, dark world of ours. More than anything, it's my attempts to go for the tail cuts that really screw me up here. Do I need to do the tail cut? No. Has that ever stopped me from going for it before? Also no. Still, on a second attempt, we come back, get a better lock on our aim, ironically by not relying on lock-on as much, and we get our tail cut. We also get two incredibly fast kills. Definitely could have done this first try if I hadn't stupid fingers did all up. I honestly expected all of Undead Berg to be a bit harder than it turned out to be. Like sure, I still definitely need to be careful or the thieves and dogs can absolutely overwhelm me, but the Megabonk stick is incredible. We even take the time to come save Griggs while we're here. Two things to note at this point though. First, I want to point out that we've kept basically all of our stats at base level, only adding to strength whenever we have the souls to increase anything. We're eventually aiming for 50 strength, and after that we'll aim for 30 faith, for reasons that should be obvious when looking at the list of Great Hammers, but I'll keep it vague for now, as a surprise for those not in the know. Second, I'm letting myself use buffs on the weapon and myself, and soon that will include casting Magic Weapon on our Great Club. On to the boss. The Capra Demon isn't much of an issue at the moment. Our ring combination of the Wolf's Ring and Havel's Ring means that for now we can light roll and tank at least one hit from the dogs or a lighter swipe from Capra himself. Fortunately, the Great Club deals as much damage in the boss fight as it was outside the room. So the dogs go down in one hit each as long as I can land the hit before getting bit. Once the Capra Demon is by himself, he cannot stand up against the might of the Great Club. I rarely use this weapon class, with the last time I really utilized one being way back in the Overloaded run, but damn is it fun to try out again. So, the Depths gives us access to two things. First, we can get the Large Ember to start upgrading our weapon to +6, and eventually shooting for +10. Second, we can kill the two Butchers for the Sack Mask, which we can take back to Snuggly in the Undead Asylum for the Demon's Great Hammer. See, we didn't need to Black Firebomb the Asylum Demon anyway. And at this point, we get the chance to choose between the Demon's Great Hammer and the Great Club. If you're ever in this position yourself, take the Great Club. It is the obviously correct option here. Lighter, stronger, better scaling, lower requirements. I, however, am not in the position to be choosy, as a video must be made. So we upgrade the Demon's Great Hammer to +6 and head out on our way. Hopefully we'll be able to find more large Titanite before too long. As for the boss of the area, the Gaping Dragon gives me a bit more trouble than I would have expected considering the damage we've got with our big bonk stick. It also becomes clear that we need to take out that tail immediately. Side note, why the hell does this hit that kills me still do full damage? Like what the fuck? Is that beefy chicken wing so mighty that even a slight brush in my direction is enough to flatten me entirely? Anyway, we come back, and it's a bit of a war of attrition, as is always the case against the Gaping Dragon. Even when we're bonking at full strength. Maybe this would go better with a +10 bonk stick. Now, we've already been in Blighttown for most of the important things, so we can head directly to Quelaag. Once again, this one doesn't really go well, in at least one case. RNG really does a number on me, catching me mid-roll as her collision forces me into the lava. However, another difficulty here is that my lack of vigor is starting to show. Like, 11 vigor isn't crazy low, there are classes with worse starting health than the deprived, but enemy damage is starting to catch up to me. So I have to be a lot more careful than I usually force myself to be. Still, after a few resets, we get through the rest of the fight after another war of attrition. Again, this might go better with a +10 instead of +6, but that would have required a bit more resource hunting. And these few resets aren't really a huge problem. So, with a bit of patience, we manage to ring the bell, and it's time to take on the Ceaseless Discharge. Normal cheese on Ceaseless, which shows that our damage isn't actually that bad as we nearly kill him on the way to dropping him off the cliff. This was mostly for the souls since we're going to want some extra damage for our next target. Before heading back up through Firelink the way I normally go, we'll be taking a detour into the Great Hollow and heading all the way down to Ash Lake. I'll be honest, I haven't really had any reason to come down here since starting the channel. The big draw in Ash Lake is gathering up the dragon scales that are down here and joining the Covenant, which neither have exactly been a priority for a while. While I'm down here, I also love this specific skull right here. It is my favorite environmental design in the entire game. Like, what was this thing? Did some dragons not have snouts? Is it a crossbreed like Priscilla? Whatever it is, it's so ancient that the skull has fossilized. It's so interesting. But back to the topic at hand, if we're looking for every scale, then that means killing the Hydra. We've already killed the other Hydra since I wanted to prep for the DLC, and I was looking to get the Ulasil Catalyst for the magic weapon buff. Although at 11 int, the regular Catalyst is still the better option, since it takes 12 to hit the base requirement for the Ulasil one. Anyway, the Ash Lake Hydra is actually less of a problem than the Darkroot Basin one, as it spends a lot less time shooting the stupid spit attack. And even when it does, it rarely hits in this arena. What does wind up hitting a lot harder is the head slam attacks. But we slam enough heads and make sure to be buffed with magic weapon while we bonk with R2, and the Hydra goes down before the final head is even destroyed. Really goes to show exactly how tanky Quelaag and Gaping Dragon were for this point in the game. Because if we're doing enough damage to skip some of the heads on the Hydra, then our damage per hit must be massive. But those two bosses still brushed the +6 and higher Demon's Great Hammer like it was a toothpick. Once we're done with Ash Lake, we can make the climb back up through Blighttown. We can grab Power Within and head up through Sen's Fortress. Not gonna lie, low armor and health doesn't really help us on the way up, but we make it and manage to kill off some of the tougher customers at the top of the fortress, like Rickard and the Firebomb Giant. Then there's the Iron Golem, and the Superbonk stick really starts to do numbers against the boss, especially his legs. Hell, with our massive strike damage and his weakness to that specific type, we get the stagger in one hit. Another 2 hits drops him on his ass, and it doesn't even matter that we didn't get him to tumble over the bridge. Iron Golem goes down before he even knows what's hitting him. At this point, I start to equip a shield, since trying to go with a bare left hand doesn't do me any favors up on the rafters with the painting guardians. Fortunately, I've got this nice sunlight shield to equip. On that note, where'd Solaire go? Shouldn't he be here?
You're wearing his head.
Oh, right. Forgot about the fratricide. While we're in Anorlando, we get to pick up the only great hammer I've ever used casually, the Dragon's Tooth, along with the Havel's armor. This might still be my favorite in this class of weapon. If the Great Club was Megabonk and the Demon's Great Hammer was Superbonk, then the Dragon Tooth is Hyperbonk. Especially since we've already gone down into Ash Lake and picked up enough dragon scales to get the weapon up to +4. And of course, O&S don't make this easy on me. At this point, I've started to realize that my low vigor is a major problem. So a lot of this fight is running around and trying to get a handful of hits in on the Dragon Slayer. Greed clips me a few times as I go for the stagger against Ornstein. I also take a nasty hit from Smo in Phase 1 that I was sure was going to kill me. Once we finally make it to Phase 2, previous memories of getting blasted keeps me safe here. Any more greed will only get me killed, and that butt slam isn't going to be an opportunity with the Dragon Tooth. It might be among the faster Great Hammers, but that recovery animation still takes forever. After the fight, we can't kill Gwendolyn with the bonk, so we have to actually ask her for the Lord Vessel, but we do still manage to get our ability to warp, and even though we only barely got the best Great Hammer, it's time already to replace it. Taking the +10 Demon's Great Hammer to the Giant Blacksmith means we can get Smo's Hammer for the upgrade to Omegabonk. Again, we can also get this one to +4, since we've been picking up Demon Titanite on our way here. Killed a few Titanite demons and acquired some extra while admiring some art. Hubba hubba, big man. Our first target to test out Smo's hammer on is Duke's Archives. The hammer does work against the boars and even kills the hentai monsters with ease. That being said, while I've hit 50 strength at this point and am pivoting to faith, again, for a down the line type of reason, Smo's hammer has a strength requirement of 58. So I can only wield it when holding it in both hands, which means that the shield on my back isn't really going to be doing much anymore. Either way, we make it to Seath and the fight goes okay. Not great. I don't get the tail cut, even though I really risk it for the biscuit. Still, Omegabonk absolutely rips Seath apart once you start slamming on that ball. We've got 3 bosses back to back here in Lost Izalith, and they're all pretty annoying for different reasons. The Demon Fire Sage is rough, mostly because of the weight of Smo's hammer and the recovery on its hits. Landing shots takes barely long enough to really be a problem, getting me caught in those aura blasts at almost every opportunity. The Fire Sage also takes every chance to run himself into the corner and make the prospect of trying to sneak a hit on him and run past an obstacle of its own. Given that his blast nearly one-shot me, I've really got to be careful. That draws the fight out quite a bit more than I expected. Centipede Demon itself isn't really that bad. The real problem is the arena, but on the first attempt here, I knock a piece off and get the charred orange ring that lets me head safely into the center of the arena. So, on the second attempt, I have a much better time with the much larger platform to stand on. Smo's hammer goes hard, and the slow swing speed isn't really a problem as long as we stick with R1s. Although it may have been obvious in the footage up until now, even if I've left it unsaid, Smo's hammer is also an absolute visual hazard, taking up so much of the screen while I swing it over my shoulder. Oh, also, I never realized how many grabs you can struggle out of without ever taking damage in this game. Like, it's kind of intense. And this is where I regret my decision to say no to the firebombs. Because now we have to fight Bed of Chaos legit. I really should learn the proper route to go without the firebomb cheese more at this point, what with that being such an integral part of so many runs that stipulates against firebombs or bows or what have you. Either way, right now, I'm scrambling the best I can and it goes poorly. Like really, really bad. I fucking hate this shit. Whatever, we persevere, cry in the corner for a little while after having actually gotten in here and died because I'm so slow and fat rolling because of this stupid fucking weapon, and we get through. On to something more fun, like standing around for 5 minutes waiting for a stupid butterfly to eat its veggies. Omegabonk absolutely bonks the butterfly's shit up. While I expected my lack of mobility to be a bigger factor here, Sif really isn't that difficult even without the quicker rolls. I mean, it might be a different story if I was fat rolling, but even mid rolls and some absolutely insane damage are more than enough to take this pupper down for good. Not much to do in the way of preparation here, since our weapon and its eventual replacement don't use the standard upgrade path. We don't really need to worry about picking up Titanite chunks or the very large ember, so we drain the water and head quickly to the boss fight. The Four Kings is a surprisingly difficult fight. Turns out that while Smo's hammer deals pretty significant damage with each hit, the overall DPS is pretty bad. Like, if we're really lucky and power through every single attack, we can kill each king before the next one arrives, but relying on RNG for a DPS check doesn't always work out super well. And in more than a few attempts, it doesn't work out at all. So yeah, at this point we pop on some armor to boost our resistances. Fortunately, the knight armor, with some elite knight gloves and greaves, fits the bill for Sir Oofy's plate armor from Megabonk. Because remember, we're doing a Megabonk roleplay. Or whatever. Right? Wasn't that the point of this whole experience? I'm honestly not sure anymore. All I know is that I'm here to bonk and have some fun doing it. So let's go bonking. We're quickly down to fight Pinwheel, and I mean, it's Pinwheel. 2 hits is all it takes. Mask of the Child. Now that we've collected 3 out of the 4 Lord Souls, we've managed to get enough levels to be able to wield our final weapon for the run. However, to get it, we need to get invaded by and then kill Paladin Leroy. Of course, that does come with its own wrinkles. As in previous runs, I've noticed that Leroy is more of a lover than a fighter, and will often choose to throw himself off the edge of the world rather than actually fight us. So, to make sure that we actually get the grant, we'll need him to fight us in this extremely tight cave where I have basically no line of sight on him, thanks to the gargantuan size of Smo's fucking hammer. Still, read the small amounts of visuals we do get, parry his attempted attack, and two-handed riposte to end him. And we get our hands on Grant, an acceptably powerful faith weapon. The stat requirements on Grant are steep, to the point that I've been building them up throughout this entire playthrough, and only now get to start putting levels into health. But it has a decently fast swing for a great hammer, and can deal some magic damage. I mean, it's split damage, so it's not the best, but we'll still get to do some decent chunks to our upcoming enemies. This then brings us to Gravelord Nito. Not gonna lie, I already like Nito these days. His Skelly Boys running around the arena makes this feel like a much more interesting improvement on the Capra Demon fight. Fun thing about Grant though, it is in fact a holy weapon, and as such, is capable of killing the skeletons here. So, once they're down, Nito is about as simple as it gets. While his actual moveset might make him a better fight than most of the other Lord Soul Bearers, once the skeletons are dead and can't revive anymore, it's kinda like when Copra's dogs died. A decent fight, but not the most complex available in DS1, especially once the DLC arrives. Speaking of complex, let's go fight Gwendolyn. Sorry, that line was supposed to be followed by running into the DLC, but apparently I had some cleanup to do right now. Gwendolyn goes fine, although I can't always get the hit off on them. The armor is making it difficult to actually make the full run, but we have to keep it on, for the drip. A standard that I will inconsistently hold myself to. In fact, ignore everything I said right there when we get to Priscilla time. So the first hit here gives me quite a bit of false confidence, as I get the tail cut on my very first hit, before Priscilla even disappears. However, once she does disappear, it would appear that my armor is more of a suggestion than actual protection. Because with a combination of getting insta-bled by Priscilla's opening attack and the actual damage from her swipe, she kills me in one shot. Every time. While invisible. This is the absolute worst, and forces me to change my armor if I want to survive. So we throw on some Havel's armor and are finally able to survive her first attack, which gives me enough time to start actually hitting her back, and we eventually get the win. It's not a pretty win, but I guess it works. Alright, time to head into the DLC, and it starts off strong with the Sanctuary Guardian absolutely kicking my ass. Once again, we need to make a concession with our armor. Like, there's no way I'll get this while fat rolling. So I doff my armor and mid-roll my way to even more deaths. But eventually, we get a victory. Not gonna lie, I've never been a huge fan of this fight, and it really sucks the DLC starts with him. Granted, I say that about actually almost every From Software DLC ever. Like, I don't like the Sanctuary Guardian, I don't like Demon Princes, I don't like Ludwig. Hell, I might have to give Elden Ring the first good starting DLC boss with the Divine Beast, if you want to consider him that. But that game is so open that you can consider R'Lana Shadow of the Erdtree's first boss, which is also a banger. Am I still sure that I dislike the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC? Yes, I am. After a quick encounter with Calamite on the bridge, fuck you too, buddy, we get to the best fight in the whole damn game. And this is rather troublesome, I must say. Holybonking might seem goated from a raw numbers standpoint, but damn, the speed of my attacks do not work against the DLC bosses. So this guy is tough. Fortunately, we at least have the DPS check on lock, as 2 R1s can keep him from getting into his buffing phase, as long as I can actually reach him before he starts building up the buff. But yeah, this becomes another careful war of attrition, looking for the very few moments I have to maximize on, as so many of the normal punish opportunities simply don't exist when I've got something as slow and cumbersome as Grant. Still, after like a dozen attempts, we finally get the win, and I honestly can't believe we still have to fight the 2 hardest bosses. I really don't have much to say about Calamite here over any other fight. This boss is so tanky that it's always a war of attrition. And once again, even though our Holybonking does decent amounts of damage per hit, the DPS isn't exactly fantastic. Granted, I never feel like my DPS is on point against Calamite anyway, unless I'm smacking his ass with a Black Knight halberd or something. So we lock in for a long fight, reset like 3 times, and get the win. Onward to the Handman. Old Captain Handy J of the HMS Reach Around. This gives me a bit of trouble. Not simply in actually fighting him, but in quantifying what fights are the hardest and what fights make me feel the worst. Like, going back to fight Artorias over and over is one thing, but I love engaging with his moveset so much that it really doesn't matter if he beats the tar out of me. Then there's Manus, a boss who I really cannot read for the life of me. When I think I've got the timing to dodge one attack, he slaps me right in the dick. Or I guess tits, since I'm playing a woman right now. Almost forgot with all the armor on. On top of that, our Holybonking seems to break the absolute hell out of Manus, because something about me smashing his hand has a tendency to reset his current animation. Like, I'll hit his hand, and suddenly he starts his next attack with 0 windup and clipping back into neutral stance without any recovery animation. This also seems to consistently draw out his multi-hit wombo combo, which is very difficult to dodge while at mid-load and using a heavy weapon. So yeah, while I think I might have spent more time on Artorias and Priscilla one-shotting me while invisible, Manus is always my least favorite of these fights. But I already don't like him, so yeah, might as well consider this a casual fight. Oh, and we forgot Stray Demon, so we go kill him real quick. It's okay, basically Demon Fire Sage, but easier. And now we reach the end. So, how did this weird attempt at SEO farming go? Well, it was a really interesting time, seeing exactly how powerful some of these weapons can be, but the overall deeps on so many of them really aren't there for a lot of the fights. Still, if I had to rank them all, I'd have to go Dragon Tooth, Great Club, Grant, Smo's Hammer, and in last place we have Demon's Great Hammer. Most of this wasn't really news to me, except for the Great Club, since I'd never really seen that thing in action before, but had heard about it for a while. Oh, but what about the game that inspired this run? It's a fun new take on the Vampire Survivor style of game. The new 3D environment almost makes it feel a little more interesting, kind of like it's fusing Risk of Rain with Vampire Survivor now. Honestly, while I said at the top of the video that it might not be relevant by the time this video publishes, I could see it lasting a bit longer than a simple flavor of the month. If the dev keeps working on making sure there's a steady stream of updates coming in the near future, I can see this game's popularity keeping up through to the end of the year. Hell, this is the best Vampire Survivor-like that I've gotten my hands on since the original came out, and I even prefer the 3D environments a little bit. So if we're still seeing it popping up in summer 2026, I honestly wouldn't even be that surprised. Only wish I could make some actual content out of it, but that's not what this channel is about. Hey, it's that time again. The end of the video where I invite folks to come check out the Patreon. Link in the description, and make good on the rewards for those currently pledged. Patreon members get early access to new content and their names written in the credits at the end of videos. And those who pledge in the top tiers get their names read out, like DevBox designers, Genghis Braun, and our DevBox developers, Azul. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Calf and Framt serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness.